Are you ready to run your short-term rental business like a superhost? If so, look no further than Guesty for Hosts. Guesty for Hosts offers listing management for all three major OTAs, Airbnb, Booking.com, and VRBO. With Guesty for Hosts, you can create a branded direct booking website in minutes. I've been able to hit 61% direct bookings in my business and automate daily tasks such as communication with cleaners and communication with guests. Click the link in the show notes to get an additional $20 off your first month.
Welcome to Live, Let, Thrive, a podcast about the Airbnb life, the share economy, and everything in between. Here are your hosts, Micah and Steve.
Hello.
And welcome back to another exciting episode
of Live,
Let, Thrive.
What is up, Micah, man?
I'm chilling. Stevie Stacks, how you doing?
Great, man. Just shuffling people around through units and drawing up some leases and fun stuff like that, doing some creative lease options for them. But anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about. We got a special guest on this episode, 208 of your favorite Airbnb, VRBO, Uber, Lyft, share economy, short-term rental, long-term rental podcast in the world, coming at you from Arlington and Fort Worth, Texas.
Who we got, Steve?
Who we got? I'm glad you asked. We have a special guest. Her name is Tracey Northcott. Who is Tracey Northcott? Well, let me pull up her bio and I'll tell you all about her. Australian Tracey Northcott of Infor, Tokyo Family Stays, and Tracey Northcott Consulting is a serial entrepreneur and multipreneur based in Tokyo, Japan. She is one of the most successful Airbnb hosts in Tokyo. She also runs software development company Infor with her family, as well as Tracey Northcott Consulting, where she helps other hosts discover the true potential of their STR or Airbnb business, maximizing their investment, enjoyment, and hospitality standards. Welcome to the show, Tracey.
G'day. Thanks, guys. It's so good to be here.
You are the second Australian we've had on our show. After someone you might know, Julie George.
Julie, she's my buddy. She's my girl. Yeah.
Is she your ride or die?
Yeah, well, we've actually never met in person, which is interesting because I'm based in Japan and she's based in Australia, but we talk every week. And she's funny as all get out. Oh, she makes me giggle. So yeah, it's really good. It's really good because I'm here in Japan and I have to be very serious. Japan's a very quiet, conservative country and not everyone's hardly anyone speaks English, so I try to be sort of very quiet and conservative, and then I just get on with Jules and we just laugh until our bellies hurt. So
you unleash the beast.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's interesting. Now, how did you end up in Tokyo?
So I did Japanese at school. So in Australia, a lot of people do study Japanese at school. And so I'd been doing it since I was 13 and through high school, and then I did some units at university. And then my brother had already moved here for a completely different reason. And he'd started up a company in software development. And then I'd been working for 10 years and in laboratories. Different story, but I've been working as a scientist and I just went, gotta get out of here. So I thought it'd be fun to jump on a plane and come to Tokyo. And that was 22 years ago, guys. 22 years I've been living in Tokyo.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you're the first. Now we want to learn a lot because first off, you're in Tokyo. We've never interviewed anyone in Tokyo and we don't know anything about short-term rentals in Tokyo. How did you get involved in short-term rentals over there?
Look, it was completely by accident. So I got married, long story short, I got married, had a baby. And this was in 2010. My son was born. And we were getting a lot of visitors. And we were just getting, all the relatives wanted to come and see the child. And also Japan was really high up on the bucket list of a lot of tourists. And Japan was really welcoming in tourists. And so it was just really hard to find places for my family to come and stay. So I thought, well, I'll just rent I'll rent a second apartment down the road from my house, and they can go and stay in there, and then I'll rent it out part-time on Airbnb. And it was so busy that I needed to start another one, and then another one, and then another one, because it was just crazy. It was crazy. That was 2012. So I've been doing short-term rentals for 10 years. Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah, you accidentally started an arbitrage. That's pretty cool.
I did. I didn't know it was called arbitrage, and it was just like, and well, my goal was to break even, guys. I already had a company, right? I already had a software company that was paying my bills. So this was really just to as a zero cost side hustle.
That's cool. Oh, it's just interesting to me that a lot of people's side hustles where I'm cool with breaking even, end up kind of taking over their lives and becoming their number one hustle. I just love those stories.
Now, okay, I don't know anything about Japan. Are there any regulations in Japan, and how does it work over there?
Yeah, so 2012, obviously there was zero regulations. It was wild, wild west, and there was a massive influx of tourists. So, of course, the hotels here are tiny, are stinky, or they're very, very large 5-star. There's not a lot of that middle range hotels. So there was a huge vacuum in the market, and people like myself went, well, okay, I can fill that space, and so started renting multiple apartments. It got very big very quickly, and of course backlash from the community. And in between 2016 and 2018, the government were creating regulations, and then in 2018 the door shut. So the regulations came in, and that cleaned out a lot of people that were kind of doing it badly or only sort of phoning it in. And the people that had really decided that this was going to be a sustainable business were the ones that went and got their licenses. And so that was us. We chose to invest in the time and the paperwork. Oh my God, the paperwork, bureaucracy. We needed a property management license, and then each individual property needs its own license. And for that, you have to get a safety certificate. So we had to get a lot of retrofitting done, exit lighting put in, fire alarms, all that stuff. And it needs to be signed off by a company that can give you the safety certificate. So, we invested all of that into our houses, and we're still here. So.
See, Micah always talks about that. He says he welcomes regulation because it gets rid of the riffraff. Absolutely. And it's bad for the market. When you've got some hosts that are really just phoning it in, they've got, crappy apartments, or they're not well maintained, it just reflects badly on everybody else in the market, So I think it's good when you've got some sort of standards, and also safety. I mean, safety, oh my God, people where they sleep, there's a duty of care there that you've got to take seriously as a business owner.
Now, on your apartments, because I'm really interested in this Japanese market now. So
there goes Micah.
Who's your target avatar coming into Japan? Was it like a lot of Americans? And how often are these people coming? Who's your target avatar, and how often are they coming? Yeah,
so my target avatar, well, I decided very early on that it was family. So whatever a family looked like, whether it be 2 mums, 2 dads, single parents, but a family. So a family has a certain, energy about it. They have a certain needs. And so I was accepting families of all different shapes, sizes, colors, and nationalities. So that's really my demographic as a family. And the name of my business is baked right into that. So it's Tokyo Family Stays. So that's really who I was targeting. If you're a family, I know how to take care of you. If you're a luxury guest, I don't really know how to look after luxury guests. It's not really my jam. So I was really very specific on who I was targeting. But the nationality wise, it's such a mixed bag, Micah. It was all over the shop. So families from Southeast Asia through to the UK and Europe and America, so many different types. But what you do learn when you're hosting people from all over the world is that families do have a certain energy and a rhythm and a need point, that's what I was really targeting.
Wow.
No. We always hear things are so small over there in Japan, and just looking at you, the I guess it's the living room that's behind you, which is an image you're projecting of one of your units. It seems from American standards, it seems pretty small. Now, is there any culture shock when a family of four, or family of five arrives and like, wow, this is really small? I mean, how do you handle that?
I see part of my job as educating my guests on how to thrive, on what to expect. Most of the people coming anyway, they've done a lot of research, so they do understand that houses are smaller. But part of my job is really to explain about luggage and trash and what you need to do in the community with houses being so small and so close together. So, some of my houses, you can reach out the window and touch the next house next door. That's how close they are. But I frame it rather than as like, you must do this and you must do that. I frame it as part of the adventure. And my job is really to show you, my job is not cheap accommodation. I'm not selling you a cheap place to stay. That's not my product. There are plenty of places that will sell you that. My product is understanding what life is like to live as a local Tokyo is not one big city. It's just thousands and thousands of villages very close together. And each village has its own little it has its own vibe, it has its own energy, it has its own we don't have a lot of strip malls here. We don't have a lot of brands, like national brands here. Everything is very local. And what I see my job as doing is to show that and to really let people experience life as a local in Japan.
And you mentioned a second ago trash. I know I've always heard Japan's very clean, right? Very strict on that.
Extremely clean, yeah.
So how does that work to a guest that's not familiar with how they do things over there?
Yeah, well, it's giving people the right tools for success. So, we're a bit different probably from a lot of other hosts in that I have someone, either myself or one of the team, meet and greet every single guest that comes in. And we show them how to use the air conditioner, how to use all of the implements, because it's all in another language. But also I have tools in the house in English, and actually I have it in multiple languages: English, Chinese, Korean, and Japanese. I have the book of house, I call it, like all of the main instructions. But trash is really important, and I have the bins all organized. They're all labeled, and then on the outside of the bin, it's like, well, this is for burnable rubbish. This is what goes in the burnable rubbish, and this is the day that you need to take it out, and this is where and I show people exactly where to do it. So, or one of my team does. Check-ins at midnight, I don't do them. I don't do them anymore. I did for a lot of years, but I've trained staff to I want to train staff to take me out of a job. So that's my goal now.
Nice. And so I take it people they arrive pretty tired over there because it's a long trip to Japan.
It's a long trip, and often they're arriving in at 5 a.m. or they're arriving at midnight. And so we've got the infrastructure to deal with that, and also I have other supporting businesses that help us. So I've got a relationship with a transport company. I've got relationships with babysitters. I've got relationships with other service providers that really make it a soft landing for people. And again, that's my job. That's my job as a hospitality provider. I'm not selling cheap accommodation. I'm selling you a really good experience in Japan.
I love that.
Now, and since these places are smaller, how big of a family do you host? You just said yeah, good.
Yeah, well, we've had places. So I don't have this one anymore. My favorite house actually was a 6-bedroom house in Tokyo. It was a big old house, and it was 2 stories. Interestingly, in Japan, in most houses, it's only one bathroom. Usually there's a couple of toilets, but one main bathroom. So that's a challenge. It's a culture shock for a lot of people. So I could host families with, up to 10 people, 10, 12 people, especially if they're multi-generational families. So, you're bringing the grandparents with you. Great. I've got a room for them on the ground floor. They don't have to climb stairs. It's all very easy. So I really think about the makeup of families.
Okay. Now, and how big is your portfolio over in Japan? Like, how many units are you hosting?
Well, before the pandemic, I was all set up for the Olympics. I was all set up for like a massive influx. I had 25 places, all fully booked. It was all going to be fabulous. And I was also then bringing on more properties that I was only just going to rent for those 2 months and do a profit share with the owners. Like the owners were maybe going away for the summer and I was going to put people anyway. So that was what it was before the pandemic. So we're a small business. So 25 units is or houses is great for us in our size. And we're down to 5 now. We had to really dig in and we really had to decide which houses we wanted to keep and which ones we were going to let go.
So that's crazy. I was going to ask that too. The pandemic, because here it was a pretty hard blow, of course, because we got a lot of cancellations and this and that, and but to yours it was a double whammy, because not only you get a lot of cancellations, you were planning on a huge month coming ahead, right?
Yeah. And
then not only didn't you make the huge month, you made what, 0, or what happened?
Well, look, I won't lie, it was a horrible time. I was projecting for 2020, and I'll be transparent, I was projecting a 7-figure profit. I'd taken, and I was fully booked, and obviously we'd taken deposits. I lost in revenue. I lost $1.5 million in revenue in 3 weeks.
Oh my.
Oh.
Yeah. So I sat on my floor, on my living room floor in the fetal position, and turned off my phone because it was just every day, bing, 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 and it was just horrendous. I wish it on nobody. I do. I wish that on nobody. I've since had therapy. It's all good. And the other thing was going through the regulations 2 years before really set me up for expectations. So I was 50% booked on Airbnb and 50% booked on my own private system. I knew that when regulations happened, we got 0 assistance from Airbnb. And I stopped drinking the Kool-Aid 2 years beforehand. So I knew that that Airbnb, I love them. They're a fantastic marketing channel. I do not work for Airbnb. I have my own business, and I really had, I really dug in those 2 years. I built up my own brand. And so when the pandemic hit and everyone was screaming, oh my goodness, Airbnb, I was like, I didn't expect anything different. I was like, yep, that was what happened to us during the regulations. So this is definitely what was going to happen during the pandemic. So it wasn't as hard to deal with, I think, because we were not expecting Airbnb to help us at all. So so what happened was that we lost all that revenue, but because we were able to control our guests, I had a relationship with them. So I was able to talk to them as people going, guys, you can't come, but I know you're going to come down the line. So let me hold your deposits. I'll hold them as travel credits. Here is my signature. Here is my stamp of honor. You will be able to come back and you will be able to use your travel credit down the line. And that's what got us through. And I've now got people coming back. They're using their travel credits. I've got a spreadsheet of who they are. I've got a contract with them saying this is my word is my bond, and I've got but not only that, it's like you have it on writing that this is that you are owed this. And so now they're coming back. I'm now applying their travel credit to their bookings, and everyone's happy. I'm happy. My places are filling up because These are people that were going to book anyway, and they're coming back to me. They're not going back out into the wild and booking somebody else. They're coming back to me. And also the loyalty is just, I'm just showing them so much gratitude. And it's wonderful because they know that they've helped me and my family, and it's just such a wonderful situation.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's
it is sink or swim with a bunch of hosts, and you did whatever you could to stay afloat, and that's amazing. That's inspiring, and you got creative with it, keeping the deposits and promising them a great trip in the future, stuff like that. So that was y'all's lockdown lasts for a while, right? Tokyo?
We're still locked out. Well, our borders are technically still shut now.
Oh wow.
Unless, so the people that are coming back now, these are people that are either coming for work or they're coming, like there's a lot of visiting professors that are coming for like summer residencies. So that's who I'm booking now. So they've got visas and they're coming in, or they're students, or they've got student visas or work visas and they're coming in. But also, so from September onwards, I'm really booking tourists back in.
Okay.
Now, you said you lost 1.5 mil in 3 weeks with 25 units, and you were expecting a 7-figure profit.
Yep.
Now, this makes me want to come to Japan because I'm like 25 units and doing that is crazy. What are your most profitable units? So what was your most profitable unit over there? How big was it?
Sure. Well, I've done the numbers. So again, in 2018, when regulations came in, I really looked at what was, rather than having like a massive portfolio with each of them owning a little bit of money, I sort of shrunk the portfolio and increased the profit margin for each one. So that's really what I've been focused on. It's not vanity metrics. I don't need 100 doors. I just need the profits, because you can't eat you can't eat vanity metrics. But you can eat profits, right? So that's what I was working on, keeping my costs at a certain level and really maximizing the juice from each property. So and I found the sweet spot for us is around about the 3-bedroom unit, the 3 to 5 bedrooms, and I can be making usually 5x on the costs. That's my sweet spot.
I like that term, vanity metrics.
Vanity metrics, yeah.
You think any of that vanity metrics stuff happens on Clubhouse?
Really? I don't know. Maybe.
Some cappity cap. Yeah, so you're big on Clubhouse too, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, what I do is I try to add value. I try to hang out in spaces where people are interested in learning about hospitality. Because I'm not, like, I think Clubhouse is global. So things that are local in terms of local laws, local, local attorneys, local things I can't really assist with, but I try to hang out in rooms where you're talking about how to deliver excellent guest services, how to find additional money from understanding your guest and understanding where you're at, and just try and, because I've got a ton of ideas of how to get additional monetization from from your, getting it squeeze, get all the juice out of that. So, and sometimes the squeeze is worth the juice, sometimes it's not. It's deciding which one is that.
So being real quick, you're catering to a lot of like workers and stuff like that, like people that live in Japan and just need a place. Are they Japanese or?
So before the pandemic, it was all inbound tourists, 99%, because there was Airbnb really missed the boat a little bit in terms of educating the domestic market on the benefit of a short-term house rental. So it was really all of hosts here really focused on the inbound tourist market. But what I've done since is I've been working with relocation companies and insurance companies and those people to look after relocation, inbound relocation. So that's obviously a pivot that I've had to do. domestically, when the pandemic first hit, a lot of Japanese expats were called back from wherever they were working. And so I was hosting a lot of families who were coming, the Japanese families who were perhaps working in China or working in Malaysia or working in various places. And because it was so uncertain with the health, their companies like, Mitsubishi or, one of the big companies would bring the, because they couldn't guarantee health standards in other countries, they would bring them back to Japan and they would live in Japan until that, things, because you remember what it was like early 2020. No one knew what was going on. It was a crazy time. So yeah, Japanese families coming back, but domestic travel is not so big here. There's not a lot of digital nomads. It's not like, there's just not a lot of that.
This is the most interesting, I think, podcast because you're talking about it from basically on the other side of the world, how you guys were looking at it. I've never thought about people, hey, we have to depend on the tourism guests to come in, and then you have to make that switch when the pandemic comes. That's amazing. I'm happy you were able to do that. That's a really good learning lesson.
Not everyone survived, though. Not everyone survived. It was hard. It's been really hard.
And then what are your, like on a short-term rental or Airbnb in Japan and Tokyo, what are your expenses over there? Like, do you guys have proper insurance? What are your expenses?
Sure. Well, proper doesn't work here. So I have my own, so if I drop into Japanese, I apologize. So minpaku is short-term rental in Japanese. So I have my own minpaku insurance policies. So I had to negotiate with an insurance company and actually create a product for me because I don't, like I said, I do not rely on the air cover. I don't rely on that. It's like I want to have my own cover. And expenses, utilities are quite high here. I mean, they're quite high everywhere with short-term rentals because, there's not a lot of internet, there's not a lot of IoT, Internet of Things. So smart home things, especially in my houses, just don't happen. So each room has its own air conditioner and people leave them on. There's no central heating here, so I can't control that outside. So I find utilities are quite high. Electricity. Costs, obviously, yeah, utilities, wear and tear. I don't have, we don't have yards. So, well, not in Tokyo anyway. So there's no kind of outside maintenance that needs doing. It's mainly just wear and tear on the inside and utilities and consumables, of course, having nice products inside.
Now, go ahead.
So how do you, I was going to take us off topic. You go ahead, Micah. You were on topic.
Oh yeah. You said you created your own, and you worked with someone to create your own insurance. Now, what does that insurance entail? Do you get like loss of income if something happens? How did you kind of structure that?
No, unfortunately not. It was after the pandemic hit that we went, oh, maybe I should have gotten a business protection insurance. But no, it's mainly personal liability. So if someone hurts themselves, I want to be able to obviously take care of them and take care of myself. Damage. I've obviously the house, it's like the building has insurance, which is, if it burns down, but there's all the contents. And also when you've got, so a usual insurance policy doesn't allow for different people moving in and out. So I had to have my insurance policy written to make sure that if there was any problems, that the insurance company was not going to say, well, you didn't specify that it was going to be like a hotel, normally when you have a house insurance, you specify who is it that's living in the house. Mm-hmm. So, but because you've got different people moving in and out, the insurance company would possibly see that as a way that they could not pay out a claim. And I wanted to have it written down that they knew that it was going to be different people that were staying in the property.
Gotcha. Okay.
Go
ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Steve.
So being the places are so small, How do you design them, with that in mind?
That's a great question, Steve. I'm not a designer. Like, I first to admit, I'm not a like an interior designer. But whenever I'm starting with a house, I always think, how is someone going to be using the space, and how is my ideal guest going to be using the space? So they're tourists. They're coming in. They've got luggage. They need to have a straight shot through from the front door through to where they're going to be dropping their luggage. I need to make sure that there's no furniture that's going to be banged or dinged on the way through to dropping their luggage. In Japan, everyone takes off their shoes at the front door. I've got to make sure that that's clearly signed, that it's easy for people. You just make it easy. Make it easy for them to do the right thing. And also make it easy so that there's not a lot of wear and tear. So that's where I start, and I look at flow. If there's kids, I'm planning for children. So when I'm planning a dining area, I've got to make sure that I have chairs with backs on them, and not sort of fancy modern stool things, right? Because when you're trying to feed a kid and you don't have a high chair, or we have high chairs, but again, storage is an issue. So I have the tools so that people can actually feed their kids at the dining table rather than needing a high chair. So and then with cribs, I have pack and play cribs, so they can go, and I have places where they can go in different parts of the house. So I know a lot of hosts want to have heads in beds, so many people, but even if I could fit more beds in, I don't. I like to leave space. So that you can have a crib, like a pack and play crib, in different rooms, so that people have choices about where they're going to sleep, where their kids going to sleep. So I really just put the skin on of my ideal guests and really think about how they're going to be living there. That's where I start my design. And then the last thing I think about is the color palette, because like I said, I'm not a designer. I was like, oh, that looks good, or does it look good? So thinking about the flow, all about the flow.
Feng shui.
You
Yes.
said something in there. You said there's no storage area. Now you may be able to. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead on that, because I have
There is a little storage area. So one of my houses, actually my favorite house, I call it the pencil house. It is 2.5 meters wide. So in yards, that's about 3 yards wide. Okay.
Ooh.
So that's how, sorry, you lose me. So yeah, that's how wide this house is. And the reason is because it's basically been subdivided from a driveway, and these houses are popping up all over Tokyo, and they're fun. They're really cool. I wouldn't want to live in them full time, but as a short-term rental, it really makes it fun. But there's 2 closets. And some of those actually have some, has the vacuum cleaner and, that type of thing in there. So we get a lot of people who come in for skiing, because Japan's snow is just insane. The powder snow is it's famous all over the world. So we get a lot of people who come in and they want to ski, but I make sure that I speak to them beforehand and go, guys, are you carrying ski gear? If you are, then you cannot bring it to the house. Here is a solution. It's not like I say, you can't do this. It's like, well, here is a solution that'll solve your problem. It'll solve mine as well. And I give them the tools for success. So in Japan, there is fantastic, I call it takubin, which is courier, like private courier services. And they're cheap, they're everywhere, and they deliver door to door. And you can tell them, there's one thing I love about Japan. If you specify, I want my luggage delivered to my ski place the morning of this date, it will be there 100%. You can guarantee, you can go to the bank on that. It's like, it's accurate. So explaining that this is a resource at your disposal, and this is how to do it, I see as a service to my guests. My guests love it, that they can feel like they're an expert. And also it means that they don't have to step over bags in the middle of the pencil house.
Now, the reason I was asking about storage is because, like, where do you keep like your supply closet? Is it somewhere off site? Because the reason why I'm asking is because I'm currently remodeling a whole house, and there's no storage space. I'm like, are we gonna have to build a shed? How do you handle that?
Have a look. This is my storage shed.
Nice.
Can you see?
Yeah.
This is in my house. So
Oh.
yeah. So that's my house. So this is my storage shed. My cleaners have access to my house, and they can come and go. This is where we keep all the big supplies. Let me just turn that off. It's a bit distracting. So in the house, obviously under the sink, and usually we have a storage, like a supply closet that's locked. Part of the game. You have to keep it locked with cleaning products, like the additional stuff. Obviously, we have enough out for the guests. Sheets and towels go under the bed that they belong in. Again, Japan is really designed for lack of storage. So we have storage bins that are designed to go under the bed, and they have a lock on them so that when the cleaners come, they can pull out the box from under the bed. They know which linen goes on. The linen that's on there goes straight to the wash, and they do it that way. So yeah, you can be creative with storage. You don't necessarily have. I mean, I dream about having a home edit, pantry. I like. It's porn for me. I watch it on Netflix, but it's just not possible. House porn is it's just not possible for us. So we have creative, and there's whole stores here dedicated to finding storage solutions. And it's usually tucked out of the way.
Nice. Now the pods. You're familiar with the pods over there?
The pods
that people, these like little like coffin things that they sleep in, or they
the
can rent.
capsule hotels, yeah,
The capsule
hotels.
Have you ever stayed in one of those?
Well, see, they've been around forever. This is an entrepreneurial success story, which, indulge me for a second. So these capsule hotels have been around for a long time. They used to be stinky and smelly, and it was where salarymen used to just crash when they got too drunk to catch the train home. And it was usually only men, and they were just cheap. So I mean, I'm talking like $10 a night, $15 a night. And there would be like a communal bathroom and a communal shower room, and you would just sleep in this little tube, and they were just nasty places. But then some clever marketer thought, well, geez, we can turn this into a bucket list item. So so they got interior architects, interior designers, and some really slick lighting, and some fantastic social media, and got some really good articles written. And now the prices are really high. It's on the bucket list for a lot of tourists. Like, I want to go and stay in a capsule. And now they're like really, because they're like space agey now. You've got like, you can have like there's little TVs, and there's like little speakers, and they're really fancy. But again, they're just a tube, just a tube. So it's really just, and so someone was very, very clever in their rebranding and their marketing, and it's just genius. I like, as an entrepreneur, I'd like, well done. I think that's brilliant.
So a tall person couldn't stay in one of those?
Sorry?
A tall person couldn't stay in one of those?
They are pretty long.
Are they long?
I've never stayed in one. I'm a bit claustrophobic. I couldn't do it.
What are they like, 2 feet high, or?
Yeah, I think if you've ever stayed in a boat, they're like a bunk bed on a boat. Like, so you couldn't sit up in a hurry. You can't sit up in them. No, they're like, when you're lying down, you probably got another like 1.5 feet on top of your nose if you're lying down. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. It's cool how they turned it into something like, a bucket list item.
Genius marketing, because like how much, like the number of people that you can put. And what they did was very clever as well, is that they made them like, there's a women's only floor, and they've got a men's only floor as well. So because you don't want sort of some creepy because there's a lot of men who stay there because it's
Gotcha.
salarymen. Yeah.
Oh. So now on your side, are you still arbitraging or have you switched over to the ownership side?
I'm all about what can I make and what numbers make sense. So rather than saying, oh, I'm all arbitrage or I'm all co-hosting. So I do a bit of column A and a bit of column B. So obviously I have some arbitrage places that I love that I've had, like the Pencil House I've had for 8 years. I just love it so much. And I because it's so novel, I can make a ton of money on it, and it's in a great location. So that's definitely one that I'm keeping on the arbitrage side. I pat the back of my former self that I was clever enough to build a house and buy a house and build a house where I actually have I have an apartment built in. So I'm house hacking. So that's one of my units. And then also I work with a lot of people who have second houses. So these are people who are like digital nomads. They have a house here. They might have a house in the US or wherever. And so they own the house. When they come to town, they use their own house, and then I manage it for them when they're not there. And that's a co-hosting profit sharing model. And that's obviously fantastic. So I do a bit of everything, and there are some that I only sublet for particular, while people are away. So it's whatever I think is going to make sense for who I can sell it to.
Versatile.
Yeah.
And also profit wise, like I said, I'm not like, is the squeeze worth the juice? I do have to make those decisions. I've turned down deals where it just, I could make a little bit of money on it. Is it worth my time? Yeah, maybe not so much. So
I like that mentality, because over in the States, everyone's about just get more. And then you end up in a situation like in one of the markets I'm in, Houston, you just have everyone throwing up these units. Now the place is oversaturated, bad operators. I like how you have that mentality of, is the juice worth the squeeze? I mean, not try to get everything. Let me get the right one that works.
Right.
Now,
well, also you're headed for burnout as well. Like, hospitality burnout is real. Like looking after people is a big responsibility, and it's hard. It's not passive. And you're wearing all the hats. You're chief everything officer. Like you're looking after guests, you're looking after the owners, or you're looking after your landlords and trying to get deals. It's just too much. So sometimes you've just got to knuckle down and like really focus on giving good hospitality, because the guests are the ones that are paying you. So if you're not looking after your guests, then you've got to decide what's a good use of your time.
Like that, the chief everything officer.
Now, do you put karaoke machines in every unit?
No, we have noise issues, right? We have noise issues because again, you can touch the next door neighbor's wall with when you lean out the window. So no karaoke. But the thing is, you don't need that stuff, because Tokyo is such a vibrant city, and where I pick my places, if you want to go out and sing karaoke, there's a place 5 minutes down the road you can go and do it. And you can go and get the best Japanese food from the local yakitori. Like, I'm sorry, I was trying to think of the English then. The local restaurant people down the road, and you can do all these things. You don't really have to be totally engaged within the house. Like, go out and enjoy yourself, and then come back, and I'll make sure that you've got a little piece of quiet when you come home.
Now one of the cool things, because I watched the Olympics and the Tokyo Olympics on TV, and I was brokenhearted that the pandemic was going on. They didn't have nobody could go, enjoy the Olympics except for the people that were there, right? The athletes were watching them, so the other athletes. Anyways, but they were doing little like informative commercials in between, the events. And one of these guys was walking through these little like back alleys and say, he just opens this curtain. There's a little restaurant there. He goes, you just walk into these. There was a word for these little restaurants where you just walk in and you sit down, and he says, and you tell them, surprise me or something like that. You tell them something in Japanese, and then they serve you some kind of dish that's just like phenomenal.
Yep. That's a real thing. It's not like so I used to, before I was doing short-term rental, my other side hustle was I owned a bar.
Oh,
and
wow.
And in one of these little alleys, and it was interesting. It was very interesting. But yeah, these places are tiny. They fit 6 people, and you go there because the bartender is amusing or tells a good story or makes you some really interesting octopus balls or something. So yeah, and it's all beer and whiskey. It's all beer and whiskey and something called shochu.
My favorites.
Yeah. Beer, whiskey, and shochu. Shochu is basically gut rot. It's like the white liquor that's fermented rice or something, and it's just like whoa.
What about sake?
Nihonshu, sake. Sake actually is the word for all alcohol, which is interesting. And the sake that you're talking about, like, it's called Nihonshu, Japanese alcohol, and you can go to tasting bars. It's really quite good now. There's hot and there's cold, and there's ones that you have with fish, and there's ones that you have with with beer nuts. there's one for every occasion. When you're having Japanese food, it's really great. And in summer, cold sake is great. It's really good.
Oh, nice. Well, and one more question on the food, because I'm sorry.
Yeah, go for it. I'm all about food.
One of my favorite movies is on Netflix. Hero Dreams of Sushi. You seen that? Hero Dreams.
Is that the one? No.
Hero.
Oh yes,
whatever
yes.
Jiro.
So he's the funny little man that does the really expensive sashimi, right?
Yeah, it's a little bitty restaurant. Does the sashimi, sushis, whatever. And I mean, I remember Obama went there to his little restaurant, and the prime minister of Japan at the time. I mean, and it's like in a bus, the train station or something. It's like in the bottom,
it's in Tokyo Station, I think. So, but it's really strict. So you have a window of opportunity, like you have to get there on time. And you go there, and it's like, you ever seen that Seinfeld episode, like the soup Nazi?
Oh yeah.
No soup for you. It's pretty much the same thing. It's like you get what they give you. Oh, absolutely. Wow. They give you like it comes, and you're supposed to, like, if you don't care for it, like, you don't, like, keep that to yourself. So it's all about the experience, and it's like hell expensive. It's like $400 for like 3 pieces of fish or something.
My goodness,
it's a bit more there, but yeah, this is the best cut of fish, and it's infused with love or something. I'm not sure, but you go for the experience, and also to tick it off to say, yes, I've been to this restaurant. So
but you can go down the road and get some more affordable sushi.
Well, sushi's everywhere. Sushi's like, I can go to 7-Eleven. I can go to the 7-Eleven and get awesome sushi. But, it's not, Japanese food, like, the experience is part of it. It's not just what you're consuming, and that's why you don't get like the mega sets. You don't get the you don't supersize things here. It's because it's not about what you're consuming. It's the whole environment of how you're consuming it, like the ambiance and the everything. You don't get a lot of overeating here.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it's pretty expensive to do. Well, I mean that like experience, right?
For that. But I know all the best little places that you like, the holes in the walls where you can, have great experiences and have a big bowl of, like, amazing pork ramen for for $10. And I've got all the tips and tricks. So
now this is my last question, like on the short-term rental side, like what's your average price per night? Because it sounds like you get some high-end guests over there.
Yeah, it depends on the season, obviously, and I love my dynamic pricing. I love it because when I used to do it myself, and it's just like nah. But so we go anywhere between $200 a night in low season through to $600-700 a night in high season.
Wow, that is
it's a big split. It's a big range.
When's your
Yeah.
guys' high season? Is it ski season or?
No, interestingly, it's between the 25th of March and the end of April.
Really?
I know, it's random, isn't it? Yeah.
What's going? I'm trying to think what's going on over there. Or is it just people are taking
No.
vacations?
Have you heard of the sakura, the cherry trees?
No.
I've heard of those.
The blossoms, the cherry blossoms. That's when they bloom.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
People
And
pay
the
$700
Yes.
a night for that. I gotta.
Yeah. Have you ever been to? I think Washington D.C. has the sakura, has the cherry blossoms. When they're in bloom, when they're in full bloom, it's transient, but it is really, really special. It's a really special time.
I gotta.
And here in Japan as well, it's where the school year ends. It's where companies take spring break, and it's a time of renewal, and the whole country is electric at that time of year. But you pay for it. You pay for it. And the other really peak time is New Year's. So anywhere between Christmas Day and the 2nd of January is really, really big here.
Nice.
That's called Oshogatsu, and that's where all companies except for shops shut down, and you know, New Year's is like Christmas in a Christian country. So we don't have Christmas. Christmas is a working day. Can you believe that? So
I heard something crazy.
Yeah.
Says KFC is like a real popular meal for Christmas
oh
over there.
my God, yes. It's like, what is that? Like, I do not understand why KFC, like, it's Christmas chicken. I don't know. Again, some very clever marketer like put this into the local zeitgeist that you have to have chicken at Christmas, and it's like, and so KFC is just massive.
Wow, didn't know that.
We do our own thing. I pull my kid, even though it's a school day, I pull my kid out of school. It's like, you know, like we're pretty Japanese in terms of like respectful of culture, but you know, Christmas Day is kind of special. So we pull our kid out, and we have proper Christmas lunch and a turkey and do all that stuff. So
So no KFC for y'all.
no KFC.
You got to put your orders in early
It's
too.
date night too. Christmas Day is not a big thing. Christmas Eve is really big. It's date night. So if you don't have a date for Christmas Eve, like, you're a loser. Yeah. So that's where you see all the, like, the restaurants are all filled with it's like Valentine's Day. All the restaurants are all filled with couples having date night.
Nice. So an interesting question on your question list right here is how you can mine your brand for additional revenue. What does that mean?
Absolutely. So that's knowing who you serve. So where I see my brand is three things: my guest, my product, and me. So they're the three things that are my brand. Not like, you know, you start with those three things, and then you have your brand identity, and that's when after that you start bringing in your colors and your logos and whatever. So you start with what service you're delivering, and when you know that, then you know what problems your guests have and how you can monetize. So like I said, I know my guest is coming in, what problems they have. So I've lined up affiliate arrangements with a transportation company, with a food walking tour company, actually a couple of them, ticketing for museums and Disney and that stuff, babysitting services. So I know what problems my guests are likely to have. And so I've built relationships where my guests are happy because this is money they were going to spend anyway, and I'm happy because they're spending money with me, and I'm making a commission. So I'm not like, you know, I'm not being grubby selling. It's like, I'm solving a problem. This is a problem that you were going to spend money on anyway. I'm just allowing you to spend it with me. So that's what that is. But I help, you know, I help people are all around the world doing it for their market. So what works in my market is going to be very different from other people's, and what I do is I help people like really brainstorm what the product is that they're delivering and who are they delivering it to. And after you've done that, that's when you start looking for opportunities. So are you, if you're in an off-grid area, do you need to, have a local experience that is like a sustainable farming experience, for example, that you don't deliver the service, but it's likely that your guests are going to be interested in it. Or if you're doing a high-end luxury, do you need to build a relationship with a chef that comes in and does a food experience, for example? So it really does depend on those three pillars of your brand, knowing those things and then looking for a good fit for that.
Nice.
Love that.
One more question on your list that I really intrigues me, because we're all trying to kind of start doing this, and be more successful at it, is how to manage direct marketing for your short-term rental.
Ooh,
well,
get into that.
That's another, you have to get me back, Steve. That's a complete other podcast. Number one is your customer. You need to own your customer. And so that means owning the email addresses, owning their, like, obviously you need permission for that. So you're building a relationship directly with the customer and not involving the third party OTA. So even if they've come to you from the OTA first time, they are, you pay the commission for Airbnb, fine, they've earned it, they've brought you the customer. But after that customer comes to you, you need to then start nurturing that relationship. And how I do that is obviously I start even before they arrive. So I have their welcome pack, I have all of the tools for them to land and all the rest of it. And then after they leave is where I immediately start, sending them, rebooking, retargeting, incentives for them to invite their friends who are likely to be my ideal guest as well, and have those guests also spread the word either through social media or through email, and be able to nurture those guests that way as well.
Nice. So
yeah. Off-book marketing is really the way to create sustainability. It's how I've sustained my business when the stuff hit the fan. So.
And what kind of tools do you use to direct market to them?
Just the standard. I have an email list. I have an email, like I just use MailChimp. I don't use anything fancy. And it's just more about giving timely information. So, I let people know about what festivals are on, what is likely to be interesting for them, or, if I've discovered a new restaurant that people might be interested, I'll send that through. So I just try to keep it topical and personal. And, I think people turn off when they think they're being sold to the whole time. You want to really just try to be of service and try to make their journey to your area easy. And if you keep that as top of mind, then you can do the email marketing easier.
You'd bring up a good point about, setting up these email lists to guests. And me and my partner were talking the other day about something we're working on in our business, is getting repeat customers. Have you been able to capture, have you been able to capture how many repeat customers you're receiving?
Oh, good question. I haven't. It's more anecdotal. Yeah. I mean, if they come back through my direct booking platform, I know that I've got a relationship with them and they've stayed with me before. But most people tell me, to be honest, they say, oh, look, hey, do you remember me? I stayed with you in 2017, for example. They'll tell you. And because I try to create my communication to be personal and to show that because I really do care. I mean, you can't sort of fake that, right? Like, I really do care that people are going to have a good time. They remember that, and they respond to that.
And one thing I noticed about return guests, and you guys can weigh in on this, they're usually coming back for one specific thing. Like if you're in a specific area, hey, you're in this area, I want to come back to this area every time. Have you guys noticed maybe on Airbnb, it's hard to get a repeat guest because people are they want to see different experiences, or I don't know. Have you seen that?
Well, I mean, Airbnb want that, right?
Yeah.
They don't, even though we're supposed to be, an important part of the ecosphere in Airbnb, the relationship really is between Airbnb and the guest, and the hosts are really just like, they're just the service provider, but we're expendable, and Airbnb want to show the guest the new and shiny all the time. And we're a little bit anonymous in this thing. So, and that's fine. I mean, there are some people that only want to use Airbnb, but then my guests come back to me because they like my service and they like my hospitality. You can't be everything to everybody, and that's fine. I mean, if you want new and shiny all the time, keep going through the Airbnb system and getting their picks and their novelty properties, and that's a different type of product. But I'm really doubling down on the service I deliver, and because I've only got my calendar, I've only got 365 days a year that I can fill it. I want to fill it with people who want to be there and who want to pay my prices and are not going to start, who see the value in what I'm doing. Whereas if you're just going on the Airbnb Tinder roller coaster, right, you're really looking at a price thing. So you're wanting maximum novelty for the lowest price, and that's a different mindset. That's a different product than what I'm delivering. So
I like how you said that, the Airbnb Tinder thing.
It is. It totally is. You don't know. I mean, it's the internet. You don't know who you're going to get, right? So.
Yeah, I like that. I've never heard Airbnb be compared to Tinder, but that is a good comparison.
It is. It's a Ferris wheel, a roller coaster. I don't know. So.
So one more question, and you have really, really great questions that she made a cool sheet, who she is, her bio, and then it has questions to ask her. It's really like awesome. We never had a guest do that before, but so highly recommend having her on your podcast. So one thing, the one question kind of intrigues me too is the how to successfully open and close a short-term rental. No one ever talks about closing them. Rents have been going through the roof, and people are starting to have to make decisions. So it's an important question right now.
Interesting. I actually wrote a blog post on this 2 years ago. I write a blog as well because I'm insane. But I'm not really strategic about it. I just write about what I'm feeling at the time. And I actually can, if you're interested in this, I can actually send you the link on how I close a house. And I actually have a downloadable checklist. So you can download that checklist and actually go through the stages. So first of all, you've got to decide when it is you're closing. Put a time, because put a time there. And if you've got bookings, whenever I close a place, I make sure that I do as much as I can to keep the bookings that are there, because that's a contract that I've made with somebody in good faith. They've booked with me. It's not their fault that for whatever reason I have to close that place. So if I can't keep them in the place that they've booked, I will do absolutely everything I can to move them to one of my other places. Or, and what I've done in the past is actually, like, I'm friends with other hosts in the area. I've moved them to another host that I know is going to be a good fit for them. So figure out the dates and then just working backwards from there. So I have a whole checklist on what to do for stress-free getting rid of a house. So and giving it back to the owner in good condition, and also ethically disposing of your stuff.
Beautiful. Yeah, we definitely send us that link, please, because I would love to read that. I would love to read that.
Yes,
man.
Move out costs are never talked about.
This has been a great episode, Michael. What do you think?
Yeah, this has been really good. I loved learning about Tokyo today, about the places over there. If we are traveling abroad, we will definitely be reaching out to you, Tracey, and staying in one of your tiny little spaces. Well, the bigger space.
I try to do the bigger places because I understand that it's a little bit of culture shock. So I try to make it a soft landing.
It's only four of us, so we'll be good.
Okay.
We'll be good.
Yeah, I've seen photos of you and your beautiful family.
Thank you. Yeah, it'll be. I think it'll be worth it.
So where can folks find you at, Tracey?
Look, Stephen, I'm such an easy person to find. I'm not a woman of mystery. You can find me at Tracey Northcott Consulting on Instagram, my blog, my website. My hosting business is Tokyo Family Stays, and I still do all the communications there because I just love it. I choose the jobs that I want to do and outsource the ones that are best done by other people.
And hop on Clubhouse too. Tracey seems to be on there quite a bit, giving some amazing information for free. She's awesome.
Given the time zones though, like the time zones do make it tricky for me sometimes.
What time is it right now for you?
10:45 a.m.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, we're about to get ready to go to bed over here.
Yeah. No, I'm actually going to have lunch with a friend and talk about real estate. So she's a real estate agent. So I'm looking at getting a beach house.
Oh,
congratulations.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for hopping on. And it's been a pleasure. And we can't wait to go visit one of your beautiful places over there.
Thanks, guys. This has been fun.
Yes, it has. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Sayonara.
Sayonara.
That too.
Man, that was a good episode. I was I love this podcast because we're able to talk to so many people across the world. Like, and how she broke down, like, they were like heavily dependent on people from outside coming in to lose 1.5 million in 3 weeks. Ooh,
some people that would jump out the window when something like that happened.
Yeah, that reminds me of that old Chris Rock quote. He was like, "Man, you think you got some money?" He's like, "No, what did he say?" He said, "If Bill Gates woke up with Oprah's money in the morning, he'd jump out a window and slit his throat on the way there." But yeah, man, you got to learn how to survive. Oh man, but yeah, that was awesome, man. It was crazy how she, she was able to bounce back from that, lowered her portfolio down to 5 units, but she made sure those 5 units were high producing units. And I love that strategy because that's what I'm doing in my business, right? I'm getting these higher end units up and getting rid of the riffraff, so I love that strategy. Now your overhead isn't high because 1.5 million 3 weeks. Ooh, I was like, ooh. But yeah, that's a great story though. That was a great bounce back story, man.
Man, it's funny because sometimes I'll get a question about the podcast. Hey, anybody ever go on that, that's failing at Airbnb or this and that? And that's the, because I'm like, no, I mean, our show is about people that persevere, people that learn the game, do it right. And if situations happen, COVID affected everybody.
It did.
And so it shook out a lot of people that were doing it before COVID. And the ones that are still coming on our show were able to get through it and still thrive,
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
I know. I love it. And then I made a reel the other day and I said, what I would look for in a mentor. And that's one thing I said. I was like, man, if they didn't survive COVID or weren't hosting during COVID, they don't really know the seasons of short-term rentals, man. And I said, I think our best podcasts were during COVID because everybody was scrambling and becoming creative and it opened up the space and, the survivors were there, man. And that was the cool part about the pandemic over here. It wasn't a good thing, but it allowed people to use their creativity.
Murphy's Law, what can go wrong will go wrong. So you got to be prepared for it.
For real, man. That was an awesome cast, man. I kind of want to go check out Japan. That's always been on the list. Too. I've always wanted to go to Okinawa, but yeah.
Oh, nice. Cool, man. Another great episode. Live Let Thrive at gmail.com.
Yeah, hit us up, liveletthrive@gmail.com. Follow us on IG. I'm trying to do reels daily. And follow us, send us an email, enjoy our Facebook group. Get on that Facebook group. We will be posting updates with a lot of good talk in there. And we're posting updates about our next meetup, which is going to be in Q3. So come kick it with us.
Come to Dallas, everybody. Man, these meetups are freaking fire, dude. Everybody's having so much fun at these things. We get, there's great information from us and other people there interacting with us, and there's food and drink a drink, get a little buzz going. It's so much fun, man. These things are we're needing bigger and bigger venues. It's pretty soon we're gonna rent out like an auditorium or something like that, man. It's getting crazy. But yeah, come to town, come to Dallas, come have fun in Dallas with us. We'll save a place for you.
Yeah. And thank y'all for everyone who is coming out. Thank y'all for coming. And thank y'all for continuing to support the podcast. And we are out.
Peace.
Later.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Live, Let, Thrive. Be sure to tune in next week for all the latest in the world of Airbnb and all that entails. Bye-bye.